Good evening. There we go. Okay, well, good evening everyone and welcome to the third Aberystwyth University Guild of Students GM this academic year. Hopefully we're going to move through this meeting quite swiftly. So I'm going to kick off with a welcome and introduction for myself. So welcome. I'm the Guild Chairperson, my name's Simon. That's my introduction. And then the next one is any apologies for members of the Guild Executive Committee. I'm going to give you just a short introduction to what her job involves, and then we're going to run it the same as we did last time with Professor Martin Jones. So if you have any questions, there's a phone number at the bottom of the screen. If you text that with your question, it'll come through this phone at the front and I'll ask it. Or on the back of your GM booklet, there's a little tear-off square on the very back page where you can scribble down a question and then bring it to the front and just leave it on the table. Okay, so over to you.
Thanks ever so much, everybody. I don't know if anyone noticed that I was kind of jiving a little bit at the front there in my old-fashioned lady way, because 22 years ago, the Stone Roses were about here, and I was over there, and it was just a fantastic night, because I was a student here in Aberystwyth. I came here to do librarianship and education. And that's really where I've stayed in the field of librarianship. That's been pretty much my whole career. After I left Aberystwyth, I went to work in different universities, mainly in Wales, but also did some different kinds of jobs in the voluntary sector as well, around providing information, dealing with health information, those sorts of things. Spent around 8 years working for the Welsh Assembly Government, providing their public information service and also their internal library service, as well as dealing with lots of the IT and the telephony, which was all moving within the IT kind of realm. I came back to Aberystwyth about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago now, as Director of Information Services. So the Hugh Owen building is where I live, for most of the time it seems. I don't get to go home that much. So I look after the library services and also the IT services. And then just before Christmas this year, I was successful in getting the post of Pro Vice Chancellor for Student and Staff Services, because my big interest is around the way in which services are delivered. So I don't just look after things to do with you guys, I also look after the way in which services are delivered to our colleagues as well within the university. So things like HR and the frontline elements of the estates department as well. But the things which I'm really interested in, which apply to the sorts of work that you're interested in your lives as well, things like student support, that's really, really important to me. If I'm weaving slightly as I stand here, it's just that I've had quite a few late nights recently looking after various cases down in Bromley's Hospital. So I haven't had quite my full complement of sleep that I should have had, but I've also done things like I've been to London this week, and that was for a meeting with other Pro Vice Chancellors about the way in which we can collaborate and what the advantages are there for us trying to deliver services and support elements together, and whether or not there's some efficiencies so that we can make by actually doing things across different universities, but also learning lessons from where people have done that in the past and the way in which we could do that effectively and yet still retain a fabulous student experience here at Aberystwyth. I'm passionate about good services. I hope you like some of the changes that we've made to the Hugh Owen. I know some people like it and some people don't like it. But we're always happy to hear feedback, because things like the National Student Survey on one hand, but also all the internal feedback that we get from students, you're the reason why we're here. There's no other reason why I've got a job, there's no other reason why I actually come to work, other than to make sure that we're delivering the best services that we can. Sometimes we get it right and sometimes we get it wrong, but we need to get that dialogue with you. That's why I'm really pleased to be here this evening, because you can give me some of the things that you'd like to influence the way in which we're doing things, but also I can tell you about some of the background, some of the other issues that we're trying to balance. We have got tricky times ahead, and we are going to have a difficult balancing act. As we look at having to make some savings, we can't pretend that that's not going to happen, but at the same time, why can we make those savings effectively and wisely? And how can we make sure that actually when we're doing that, we're not damaging the things that are important, and that we're actually growing and enhancing the services that we should be delivering, and the things that you need to make your time at Aberystwyth the best possible time. Like the fantastic time that I had 20 years ago. So I am very nostalgic when I come here, so I'm trying not to get too, memory driven and see myself kind of weaving my way in here all those years ago in my Dr. Martens. But I think Aberystwyth is special. I think we're a fabulous community. I've been so impressed with the way in which students have worked with me and with others over the past few weeks with some of the difficult things that we've had to do in individual cases, but also in the general and helping us make sure that we're doing the right sorts of things. So I am happy to take your questions.
Okay, we've got our first one. What measures will you take to improve the provision of mental health support by the university?
I think the first thing there is to talk about the review that I've been asked to do of the student support services. I think when we look at the kinds of things that we're offering at the moment and the kinds of requirements that people have got of the services, there is a mismatch. We're not making sure that we've got all of the different services in exactly the way that responds effectively to what you need. So by working with student support staff, listening to them about what kinds of inquiries that they're getting in, but also looking at the way that we allocate funding as well. We used to, and this is something that John Powell's done an amazing job at unpicking, he's the head of student support. We used to put an awful lot of money locally into the GP surgeries, and that was where we used to put the funding that was trying to add on to, give extra to the local community in terms of the services that we need for students.